let's talk baseball because
Oh
there
my
has been
gosh.
big baseball news.
It's so much to get through in 30 seconds.
Just yesterday, here's what happened. Jeff Passan tweeted
Golly.
yesterday afternoon, full details still coming out. But breaking news. Major
Breaking
League Baseball
news.
and the MLBPA have reached a tentative agreement on a new labor deal, sources tell ESPN. Since then, it's been ratified, and baseball is back.
Baseball is back.
99 days that baseball was on last.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, we
First
are,
time since like the mid-90s.
I know. We're tired of suffocating from baseball. And it's about time they reach some. Now, it says tentative. I mean, we'll find out what actually ends up happening. The details are still coming out. But the good news is baseball will be back, and we're gonna see that soon. Now, I'm very excited to see what ends up happening this season with the Rays.
For sure. You know, last year they finished 162. As a lifetime Rays fan.
Pretty average, huh? Pretty below average there. One of the greatest, most incredible seasons to end the way it did. But
you know, being a lifetime Rays fan, if you would have told me when I was a little kid that the Rays would win 100 games one year,
in 4 years, even no, there's no way.
I was blown away when they first went 500.
Yeah, which is
when they went, what is
I
it?
grew up a
82
Cowboys
and 82?
fan, so I understand. If you're like 8-8,
81
like,
81. Sorry.
Yeah, 81. Yeah.
If the Rays would have gone 81 and 81 when I was a 12-year-old boy, I would have thought
You'd have played baseball.
that would have been the best thing that's ever happened for the Rays.
Yeah.
Devil Rays at that time, but you know.
I want to read this here. This is John Heyman. Good tweet here. Players Union agreed to allow MLB to ban shifts. Implement a pitch clock and make bases larger in 2023. Subject to those agreements fitting in to a total deal, Union also rejected robo-umps for 22 and 23. Their goal is to be able to streamline the process and add excitement to the game. There's so much in this tweet. I mean, where do you even start? Let's talk about banning the shift. First,
this is huge for the Rays.
This is the
Rays have perfected the shift.
They, in the entire league, they probably have the most perfect approach to playing the shift and to pitching the shift. Can you please first start off by telling, for people who don't know what the shift is, and then give your opinion on
basically
banning the shift?
The easiest way to describe it would be to put 3 infielders on one side of the infield. Typically, you know, if they're shifting to a left-handed batter, you see the second baseman drop back somewhere in the outfield and the shortstop come on the right side of second base, the opposite for a right-handed
Which is
batter.
the way the game has been played for a very long time.
For a very long time, yes. But I feel like with analytics, it's gotten to the point where they're like, hey, it's not fun to watch a guy, you know, rip a ball into shallow right field and it to be a ground ball to a second baseman that's there.
Yeah.
To make the game more exciting, they're saying, hey, let's go back to just shortstop where you're at, second baseman where you're at. Let's play baseball. It's going to cause pitching to go back to its true art form, is what Tyler Glasnow said in an interview with John Boy Media.
Yeah.
It's going to cause more web gems or crazy plays to happen.
Glasnow was a little conflicted. You know, as a pitcher, he was saying how he obviously it's not ideal for, you know, maybe your record as a pitcher, but it definitely makes the game more exciting for the viewer and the spectator, and recognizing the entertainment aspect is a factor.
Definitely. And that's why I'm torn, because the Rays are so good at it, and that's why they're good.
Yeah.
So as a Rays fan, it's like I want them to be good, but then for the viewership in the future of baseball and them being able to adapt like other sports like the NFL has with different rules to allowing more offense, I think is key to evolving as a sport.
Now, I agree with you. I'm not a very progressive person when it comes to sports, because I like the aspect that competition is always within walls. So I like that guys 20 years from now have to play the game the same way, because there's a comparison aspect you lose when you change the game. But out of all the American sports, baseball is the dying sport in America. Between football, basketball, hockey is exploding, especially down in the South. Baseball has been dying for the last 2 decades. Mid 2000s, it was doing okay, but it's been a dying sport. And so I think the players are conflicted because, and the Players Association, I mean, they're conflicted because if you have to make a decision, right, between saving the sport or keeping the game traditional, every single one of them is going to be about as torn as we are, because we grew up playing baseball the same way that they've been playing baseball. Not a lot of massive rule changes, kind of to this degree. I mean, this changes everything. This is going to create almost like a new form of baseball, and it's a lot, especially on teams like the Rays. And so I think you're right. As a Rays fan, it's like, it's not going to help us to ban the shift. It's not going to help us, when it comes to winning a World Series, but it's going to help the future of baseball. And so bringing money to the sport, bringing viewership to the sport is going to allow a lot of things to get better. I think that's probably where we stand on banning the shift. Pitch clock.
We'll see how it goes this year. Pitch clock. I like the pitch clock with nobody on base.
It's the pitch clock.
Once somebody's on base,
trash.
Let it ride how it's supposed to. But they did it in the minor leagues. They saved 20 minutes a game. You can't say both sides of the coin where, hey, we're up for changing this maybe for better viewership, but then the pitch clock would make better viewership, and then say, no, it's bad.
I agree with you, but I think why go full-blown progressive and in one blow make baseball a whole different sport? And look, the pitch clock. Do me a
favor, in the next week, go watch a college baseball game from right now, and then go watch a college baseball game without the pitch clock.
Well, I'll probably be asleep without the pitch clock before the game's over.
That's the point.
But I've been to a lot of baseball games, Rangers games, Cardinals games. I've never, as a fan, thought to myself, this pitcher, this guy, these 5 seconds where he's just sitting there playing with his balls.
That's the problem. It's not 10 seconds.
Well, I mean, okay.
I've seen pitchers, get up there, step off, do this, walk around the mound, do something else, wipe their sweat off, and I've seen that.
I know. I think it adds a dramatic aspect to the game, but
if it's the bottom of the ninth and there's 2 outs and the winning runs,
but you can't regulate. Okay, there's a pitch clock until the ninth.
There's a pitch clock when nobody's on base. That's the rule. Then when somebody's on base, no pitch clock.
Yeah, but they want it all the time.
No, the pitch clock that they instituted is only when nobody's on base. So it speeds up the game when there's no runners on base.
I think that's great. I think that's great.
Exactly.
I think that's great. I didn't
Phenomenal.
know that. I didn't know that. Well, because it makes sense.
So pitch clock, they're adding larger bases.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's to reduce injuries.
I know,
the players wanted it.
Yeah.
Let them play how they want to play.
Let them pick. The runners wanted it. The base stealers
for
wanted
postseason, something that they're doing. They're adding 2 teams to the playoffs. It's been traditionally 10.
Yeah,
they're adding
12.
2 teams.
Yeah.
So now there's 12 teams in the playoffs. The owners wanted 14. They compromised on 12.
Yeah, which is great.
I think it's way better than 14. If there's 14 teams, I think that's too many. I think it.
Well, then you just drag the playoffs off like.
It's not about the length of the playoffs. It's about that you could be a 500 team and make the playoffs. And now you're wasting the series and selling more tickets, which is what the owners want. But now the players who have played 162 games already, it adds to that. So
it's like throwing half the wins away. Yeah,
12. It's important because what is that? Then the Rays, who last year won 100 games.
Yeah.
Then there's somebody else who they can barely win 80. It takes away that competitiveness during the year.
No, 100%. 100%.
That's how I feel about it.
No, that's 100% right.
And then lastly, what they wanted was to make it more money fair for younger players. So in the past,
I love this.
Baseball, they've had this thing where you don't really get broken off paid until mid to late 30s. And then it's created these things like Bobby Bonita Day, where the Mets are still paying this guy because then they had to space it out over 20 years.
Yeah.
So now that franchises know that doing these big contracts for older players doesn't really work, it's all about the analytics. So they're not paying.
It's bad for the organization too.
They're not paying these guys when they're older.
Yeah.
But then they're also not paying them when they're younger because of arbitration and like player manipulation as far as how much they're playing to get out of arbitration.
Now it's 6 years for arbitration?
6 years arbitration, yep. And then you can become a restricted free agent, I believe, then a free agent after that. So the players wanted to be able to make more money when they were young because players aren't playing as long. You know the average MLB career is 2.7 years?
Yeah, that blew my mind. Hockey was like 4.5 or 4.2 years.
NFL's
like
3.
NFL's like 3, so we're thinking baseball's going to be like 9 years, because what are you doing, stand in the outfield? But
2.7.
2.7, it's a higher turnover rate than any other major league sport.
So the
which
players
is ridiculous.
wanted to be able to make it fair enough for younger players to start to get paid earlier. So,
which is fair because the organization, the MLB, these teams are making so much money off the young talent that comes into the organization. They deserve to be paid kind of more fair for their young labor in a sense. I mean, if these guys are playing 3-4 years in the league, like, what are they going to leave with a freaking voucher for each free checkers for the rest of their life? I mean, like, at some point, these guys have they've worked so long to make it to where they're at. Pay them what they deserve.
One of my high school baseball coaches, his name was Pat Borders. He was actually the World Series MVP for the Blue Jays. I believe in 93,
wow.
He was telling us a story how he was coming up in the minors, he would eat mustard sandwiches. That's how little money that they had. He was eating mustard sandwiches.
Now you got a league where, like, basketball players, you know, I mean, you look at the LeBron James, Kobe era, they're coming out of high school and they're going to make millions of dollars at 20 years old. And then you got baseball where it's like, feed me Kit Kat so I can survive till I'm 30. You know, like, what kind of mentality is this? It's
now there's other people that get broken off too, though.
But no, I know. It's not the right way to steward the young talent that comes into the league, and it dismisses a lot of the hard work they've done, and they deserve more than that.
Yep, the players want the other players to make their money, and I'm in agreement with it. So, which kind of ties into what we're going to talk about next, is that the Rays, they actually offered Freddie Freeman
this is wild.
a deal before going into the lockout, which I'm not entirely sure, like, the legality on that. Was he still with the Braves? I don't know.
Nobody knows. Apparently, we're just going to forget that the legality aspect exists and just say Freddie Freeman is freaking awesome, and every team in the league should be trying to get Freddie Freeman if he's available.
But per sources, at Jay Hyman says, the low-revenue Tampa Bay Rays made superstar Freddie Freeman an offer before the lockout. That's incredible. I think that makes a huge statement to the Rays fans.
It's the Rays.
In an era where we don't even know what's going to go on with the future of our team technically. Their lease is up in the Trop in 2027.
Yeah.
We don't know where they're going. They're not talking and telling the public anything after the whole split city deal was shut down by the MLB. We don't know. Are they not talking because of the lockout? Or why are they not talking to us? So we don't know. So in my opinion,
there's a lot there.
The fact that they were willing to say, hey, we're going to go after somebody that's a big name. Yeah. And we don't know what the offer was, but the fact that they did the offer.
$12 and
a lot of people were making jokes. I saw a lot of tweets on Twitter.
Like the Rays offered him a spot to park his boat in Tampa Bay and no paycheck for 2 years to come to Tampa.
And that's the Rays offer.
And but I mean, look, you have to recognize this is the largest offer they've made outside of their own organization. The last one, obviously, Charlie Morton, was $30 million for 2 years with a second-year option. Other than
that, didn't even pick up.
They didn't even pick up. So other than that, there hasn't been a Rays organization that says, hey, this guy's really talented. Let's pay him a ton of money and bring him to the team.
Inside of the organization, they've paid Evan Longoria. They've paid Kevin Kiermaier.
Right. And Longoria was a huge deal.
Yeah. I think $100 million. Yeah. I think KK got 50, 60 million. I'll look up the exact numbers on that.
Well, and Freddie Freeman, if they gave him a reasonable offer, it's probably 4 or 5 times over what they've done for anybody outside of the organization.
More than likely,
before.
It would be, and we'll see as more details come out now that the MLB's back and operating.
I hope they didn't offer him $2 million, because people are gonna make fun of the Rays forever if it comes out that they offered him hot sauce and wings.
People know that's the Rays. That's what we do. People talk about the movie Moneyball. No, the Rays are the real Moneyball.
The Rays are freaking ridiculous.
What they did on the budget that they did last year to win 100 games and to be the team that they were.
Secretariat.
Was incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And then they just broke off Wander. So, $200 million, 10 years, something like that. That's pretty wild too. But again, from inside the organization.
Well, the big question is, what are the Rays going to do this coming season now that probably the shift is going to be banned? What is the new Rays, the non-shifty Rays?
Well, I saw a tweet.
Look like.
We're going to put it up on the screen right now. It's from @AlexClouden. And it says, the new Tampa Bay Rays without the shift, and it's a logo of the Baltimore Orioles.
Golly, that one hurts.
So time will tell.
Time tells all tales.
So
the shifty Rays.
I'm interested to see what they said is the official start date for the Rays. I'm interested to see how they're going to do spring training. Maybe we can get down there to Port Charlotte to watch them a little bit. I'm interested to see Tyler Glass now coming back from
man.
Tommy John.
Oh my god,
that's gonna be awesome. He sounds like he's doing
good.
good.
I heard he's actually pitching. He's throwing 3 times a week.
Throwing from 75 feet.
From 75, which is a good start. And
he said he feels like he's leaving, like he's picking up right where he left off.
Right, which is great news. It means that not only was the surgery, by the way, love you, man. Surgery was not only successful, but he's gonna come back just as strong, if not stronger than he did, with a kind of a new appreciation, I think, for being on the mound.